Hello, welcome to Cafe Maquis. I was going to do a story about Marian apparitions, what I think is coming war in Europe, conspiracy theories, politics. I thought of that. Became a really big fan of sneaky sushi and rotten mangoes. So today I'm going to do my first murder story. This happened back in 1989. I had just graduated college and moved back to the city. I mean, it was only gone 4 years. It had gotten worse. This is down what you call Alphabet City, which would be the East Village, not so far from where the Ramones got their start in what was that, CBGB, which has become gentrified. People find that hard to believe. Crime was up, it went up, it went up until we had a big shock, and then Mayor Giuliani. And it's going to go up and up again. But this is down by Tompkins Square Park, which again, probably a little dangerous at night now, more trendy. Back then, I mean, you had a rock star or two living down there. You had a lot of creepy buildings. It was, I mean, I had really only been to that park in the early morning just to see what it was like. It was full of needles and stuff. I took like one walk in, and one walk out. So the girl who was murdered was a German student named Monica Burl. Wasn't a student, I'm sorry. She was educated. What she was doing in the city, I can only guess. And the man who took her life, he said God told him to do it. Now, what makes this story interesting and horrible is that we didn't even believe this. It was so bad at the time. We have stoops in a lot of buildings in New York. We call it the alleyway. It's like a stoop and the building set back and a little fence. This guy was giving soup to the homeless. The soup was made from his girlfriend's head. Yes, the soup was made from his girlfriend's head. I find it hard to believe even now. Alphabet City would be Avenue A through D, full of projects. It was crap. Like everything else, it's getting gentrified, but we shall see what the future will hold. I do remember at the time, just a few years later, I used to hang out and go to this sort of music bar called oh, I can't even think of the name. There was one called the Continental Divide. The Continental Divide. The one next door became a McDonald's or something. It's probably the old chain because rock and roll is dead in New York. But I always hated 8th Street because it was all out of town fools who come here to be in music. I knew a guy from New Haven who came here, got hooked on heroin, destroyed his life. It happens over and over. Happens now. But it was cheaper to live then, but it was also a hellhole. Getting back to it, Daniel Rokovitz, he walked around with a live rooster like it meant something, a self-proclaimed prophet, a small-time dealer. Now, I don't want to get into even thinking about what this young woman's last moments could have been, because you say, like, if you've been in a car accident or something, am I going to die? But you live, so you don't know what the end is like. How she got involved with him, I would think it started with the drugs, I'm guessing, and maybe some intimidation involved. But we've all seen this. Relatively nice women who were like really monstrous people. I mean, look at Charles Manson. But I did notice back then, you would go to the beach and without fail, there'd be a guy with like a parrot or a lizard on his head. And the kids would come up and talk to them, the parents would come up and talk to them, the young women would come up and talk to them. And if you're from New York, you'd say, this is a nut, stay away from this person. 9 out of 10 times there were. But this guy talked about God, about sacrifice. He looked pretty much like any grunge fool from that time. Was he possessed? Was he evil? Was it the drugs? I would say all three. I've met people like that since. But she was from Germany, young, educated. I think she was like 19, 20, 21. Uh, okay, February 1989. Freezing, Alphabet City. He killed her and fed her to God. I don't even want to mention who he fed her to. Imagine if you knew that. Was a rock star, minor rock star, lived next door, who said like he'd exchange words with the guys. The house, oddly enough, had been the house where Mark Twain had once lived, and his wife committed suicide, or his wife or daughter. People over the years claimed that it had been haunted. I believe there may have been one other murder there. I don't want to give the address because people, live there. However, if you're buying a house or selling a house in New York State and there is a violent death, you have to tell you have to tell the other people, which kind of seems fair. So anyway, Rutgers was less arrested. It's much the same now. We didn't have the internet then, but you would have a story of some kind. It could be fire, flood, murder, blah, 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 and then they never go back to it. It's just done. But he stood trial. They said he was a nut to put him in a nut house, which is interesting because there aren't really any mental institutions run by the public anymore. Maybe there's jails for the criminally insane, but he was deemed unable to stand trial. Now, the city got better and it got worse again. And people are love to make videos on YouTube about how Mamdani is going to ruin the city. Well, what he's doing is the natural trend. So I'll try to make this brief. The history of New York, why a place like Tompkins Square was so crappy, why drugs and crime were everywhere. The Eleanor Roosevelt wanted to. No, no, no. This is for another day. Just know that it's natural for New York to be high crime because of the government we had. The only reason the crime went down was that this guy, Hasidim named Yankel Roosevelt, who ran over a kid in Crown Heights, a black kid. He got pulled from his car and a crowd beat him to death. The black mayor, Dinkins at the time, let them riot for 3 days. The chief of police should be in prison for allowing that to happen, but he allowed it to happen. Lo and behold, you get Giuliani, who had been a district attorney. He was a liberal most of his life, but he was hard on crime. They did a couple of things to bring the crime down. Chiefly, before we had, smartphones, someone invented the scanner where you could scan your thumb in, so they would catch a guy. They called it broken windows. You jumped the turnstile, they found that you often had a warrant, a weapon, or drugs on you. Broken windows means if you take care of little things, you set the tone so the big things don't happen. Whereas for 30 years or so, they had only gone after the big crimes. You could jump the turnstile right in front of the police. They didn't care too much. Oddly enough, it's happening now, which tells you something. That, and they had I think they called it a Comstat system. It was just simple. They made a note of where the crime were, and they put more police there. And at the same time, Clinton had these three strikes are out. In other words, they had liberal judges who would let people out for fun. Say it's compassion. It was for fun. They wanted the chaos. They had laws where in certain drug laws, like three violent felonies, you don't get out, something like that. And that went on for a while. And then the price of real estate went about as high as it's going to go. And they want to drive it down again, make slums so they could buy it up again. So you're going to have 35 years probably of the city going down. Probably. Get used to it. So anyway, that is the story of the poor young woman who was killed in Tompkins Square Park and fed to the locals. That's about it. It's my first one. I just not ready with equipment and everything to get out in the street. What I'm generally going to do is go to a place, say like Bensonhurst, show it to you now, show it to you in the past. If not a murder, something strange that happened there. Like people don't realize if you go back to like 1920, Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, near what is the Verrazano Bridge, if you want to look it up, was like dairy farm. It was empty, flat. There wasn't even a subway, dirt roads. People think of New York as being eternal. When my grandfather managed a hotel in Manhattan before it was built, this is like the 20s or 30s. Just like empty lots in the Upper West Side. So it's all newer than we think. But I hope you enjoyed that. I'm testing out the waters, and If you have any ideas about New York neighborhoods you want to hear weird things about, just drop me a message in the